everyone, it's Anna and Tucker, and we hope you're having a good day. Tucker probably will only be joining us for literally 30 seconds because I woke him up from a nap. He's a very sleepy boy, and he just wants to go back to dreaming about retrieving books, not actually talking about books, right? You definitely dream about retrieving books for me, Tucker? Yeah? No? Rabbits. He probably dreams about chasing rabbits, let's be honest. Today I wanted to do a video on some audiobooks. Now, Tucker, rude. Today I wanted to do a video on the 10 best audiobook series that I think other people would enjoy. I think I mentioned in my booktube newbie video that I split my time between listening to audiobooks and reading physical books, and I wanted to bring some of that audiobook knowledge to you guys. I think that there's a lot of people in the world that love listening to audiobooks and are probably looking for great ones, and it's sometimes hard to tell. And so I have gone through my backlist of all the audiobooks that I've listened to over the last, decade or longer. There's a lot of them in there, hundreds. And so I've picked out the 10 best series that I think are really definitely worth listening to from start to finish. Some of these series only have a few books in them, and some of these series have near to 20 books in them. You have probably not heard of most of these series. If you have, yay you. It means that our reading interests definitely align. But a few of these you've most definitely heard of. So I'm going to save the most popular series that you've probably heard of for the very end, and I'm going to start with ones that you may not have heard of, or the ones that I think less people have heard of but are highly enjoyable. A lot of these are fantasy type series, but all of these have excellent narration on top of an excellent story. The first series I want to talk about is called The Arcana Chronicles by Kresley Cole. It is a YA dystopian fantasy series. All the books are narrated by Emma Galvin. She is just an excellent narrator. I love her voice. The Arcana Chronicles take place in a post-apocalyptic world where we follow a 16-year-old girl named Evie who lives down in Louisiana, and her whole world gets torn apart by an apocalyptic event that completely just changes the landscape of the world and the humans that are left in it. At some point, she discovers that she's not just an ordinary girl, she's actually the embodiment of one of the major arcana cards of a tarot deck. And so she is the Empress, to be exact. And she and a friend of hers from high school, who becomes her love interest, they soon discover that she's not the only one with weird powers that she doesn't know what to do with, and they don't know where they come from. There is a teen alive that represents every single major arcana. So there's like 22, I think, and they are all out to battle each other. So they are taking part of a game that was devised by the gods ages ago, where every once in a while there is an apocalyptic kind of event which forces an arcana game, and in this game the arcana battle each other, and they are all kind of drawn together, and basically they fight it out. There's some good arcana, there's some definitely bad arcana, but what they are all trying to do is to fight each other and stay alive, because whoever wins the game is the only one that's left, and they win mortality. The problem is that Evie kind of has a proclivity for falling in love with one of the major arcana players over and over again, and he's got a bit of a grudge against her, and so they are drawn together, and there's this, typical teenage love triangle, but it's done in such a tremendous way. It's actually very enjoyable. It is not your average teenage triangle. And, you know, you get to meet all these fantastical players, and, you know, there's all kinds of things that happen. It is definitely on the darker side as far as emotions and feelings go. It's not exactly a happy series, but there are happy moments. But it's a wonderful series, and it's very well written, very well narrated. There are 6 novels in the series: Poison Princess, Endless Night, Dead of Winter, Arcana Rising, The Dark Calling, and From the Grave. There's also one novella called Day Zero, but that is not on audiobook, and I haven't actually read that particular one, although it is on my list to read because I love this series so much. I don't necessarily need to listen to it on audio, but I highly recommend it as something you listen to on audio. The next series on my list is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. And I think I've mentioned Maggie Stiefvater in a previous video or two. I'm a really big fan of her writing. She's very, very good. But this series is a 4-book series that is another YA fantasy. All of the books are narrated by Will Patton, and his narration is just beautiful. He's got this southern accent that is just fantastic, and it just fits the story so well. It's engrossing from the very first moment he starts speaking. The Raven Cycle follows Blue Sargent and the Raven Boys, Richard Gansey III, Adam Parrish, Ronan Lynch, and Noah. They're all teenagers. They are searching for the tomb of an ancient Welsh king, Owen Glendower, in the fictional town of Henrietta, Georgia. Blue, who has a psychic ability to amplify the powers of others, is drawn into the world of the Raven Boys, who are on a quest to find the sleeping 15th century Welsh king. He is said to grant a wish to whoever awakens him. Blue's clairvoyant relatives have predicted that if she kisses her true love, he will die, adding a layer of mystery and danger to her relationship with the Raven Boys, particularly Gansey. The Raven Boys and Blue find themselves entangled in a strange adventure that takes them to ley lines, ghosts, psychics, and forests that whisper Latin words. There's a whole world within a world that ends up opening up for each of the characters, and they are just all brought together very, very well. Like I said, there's 4 novels in this series. You have the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and the Raven King. And a side note, there's actually a spin-off series featuring Ronan Lynch called The Dreamer Trilogy. And I have not listened to that one, but it is in my to be listened to list, and I'm sure it'll make its way into my ears really soon, because again, I love this author's writing, and I in particular love Will Patton's narration. The next audiobook series that I want to talk about is John Dies at the End by David Wong. Now, this is kind of an out there series, I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit crazy. It's very intense, and you have to be okay with large amounts of profanity. If you're not okay with listening to a lot of F-bombs and various other things, maybe skip this one. But the story and the narration is highly entertaining if you are okay with that. So this is science fiction, fantasy. I think it kind of is both of those things. It's narrated by Stephen R. Thorne and Nick Podol. It follows 2 college dropouts, John and David, who stumble upon a street drug called soy sauce that allows users to travel through time and dimensions. But some return altered and not human, leading to a silent, otherworldly invasion that the duo must somehow stop. And these 2 are hilarious. The comedy of this is like, it's dark, but it is off the charts. If you like dark humor and you can handle a lot of profanity and some, I don't know, just like really out there thoughts, this series could be for you. There are 4 novels in the series. The first one is called John Dies at the End. The second one is called This Book is Full of Spiders. Seriously, dude, don't touch it. The third one is called What the Hell Did I Just Read? A Novel of Cosmic Horror. The last is called If This Book Exists, You're in the Wrong Universe. So it reminds me a lot of like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series of books. If you've ever read those books, I think it's in a similar vein, but again, darker and definitely adult only. This series is 100% adult only. Kids should not listen to this one, but it is really entertaining and I recommend it quite a bit. The next series that I want to tell you about is called the Charlie Davidson series by Dorinda Jones. It is a romantasy mystery series. Charlie is a part-time private investigator and a full-time Grim Reaper who sees dead people and battles demons while also investigating a paranormal romance with the son of Satan, Reyes. So that's just a very short synopsis of what happens in this series. But basically, Charlie is, what they call a Grim Reaper. She sees dead people and she helps them move on. Now, she doesn't know that this is what she has to do for like a while. It takes her a really long time to figure it out. And at first, for a very long time, she just thinks she's crazy because she doesn't know that she is the Grim Reaper. And along the way, she meets this intriguing man, Reyes, who turns out to be the son of Satan, and they team up. And Satan's not a big fan of this team up. There's a lot of characters that are just not a big fan at all. But it is a really, really entertaining series. It's one of the longer series on this list. It has 13 books with like 10 novellas. In addition to the 13 books. Only 4 of the novellas are available on audiobook, but I mean, there's plenty of material to both read and listen to. The entire series is narrated by Lorelei King, who does a very good job. The books are written in first person from Charlie's perspective, and so she takes on the persona of Charlie, and she does a very, very good job of it. So like I said, there are 13 books in this series. They are very catchy titles, I think. We have First Grave on the Right, Second Grave on the Left, Third Grave Dead Ahead, Fourth Grave Beneath My Feet, Fifth Grave Past the Light, Sixth Grave on the Edge, Seventh Grave and No Body, Eighth Grave After Dark, The Dirt on Ninth Grave, The Curse of 10th Grave, 11th Grave in Moonlight, The Trouble with 12th Grade, and Summoned to 13th Grave. So this series actually, I think, recently wrapped up. The last book being released sometime in the last probably 3 years or so. So because it's such a long-running series, it was started quite a while ago, but is one that's been recently wrapped up. And so if you like a little bit of mystery, a lot of romance, and a pretty good amount of fantasy, I highly recommend listening to this audiobook series. It's great. The next series on my list is one that is near and dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite ongoing series that I am still reading. So the books are still being produced once a year. And it's a series that I started out by listening to on audiobook for several of the first books. And then at some point I switched to reading and sometimes also listening to the audiobook. This series is called the Royal Spinous series by Rhys Bowen. It's a historical fiction, cozy British mystery series. The first 11 books are narrated by Catherine Kellgren, who is a fantastic narrator. These books are another set of books that are written from the first person, and she really sounds like the main character, Georgie, and it is a fantastic narration. The reason that she only narrates up through book 11 is because sadly she passed away after that. I think that she was battling cancer or something like that, and so she lost her battle, and book 11 was the last one she was able to narrate. But they did switch to a new narrator named Jasmine Blackborough, and her narration isn't quite as good, but it is still good. It's just, it took a little getting used to for me because I was so used to listening to Catherine Kellgren's voice. And so it took a book or two for me to make the adjustment. But that shouldn't detract from listening to the series at all because it's a fabulous series. So this series follows Lady Georgiana Renwick, a penniless great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria, as she navigates 1930s London and solves mysteries while trying to make ends meet. And so murder has a way of finding Lady Georgie, and she meets these cast of characters that are just fantastic along the way. Very British, great character building. She falls in love with a handsome Irishman, and, you know, she's just learning how to make her way without having to ask her royal cousins in Buckingham Palace for help. And so it's a fantastic series, and like I said, it's still being written. There are currently 18 books in this series and one novella, which was a prequel, and about one book per year is released. They used to be released every August, and now they're being released every November. But one a year, and it's really great. This series also has catchy titles, I think, that are really fun to read. So the books in order are Her Royal Spiness, A Royal Pain, Royal Flush, Royal Blood, Naughty in Nice, The 12 Clues of Christmas, Airs and Graces, Queen of Hearts, Malice at the Palace, Crowned and Dangerous, On Her Majesty's Frightfully Secret Service, 4 Funerals, and Maybe a Wedding, Love and Death Among Cheetahs, The Last Mrs. Summers, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Peril in Paris, The Proof in the Pudding, and We Three Queens. The next audiobook series in my list is the Naked Werewolf series by Molly Harper. It is a romantasy narrated by Amanda Ronconi, and this series revolves around Anna Motor, a woman who discovers a wounded werewolf while trying to escape a dangerous situation, and the humorous romantic adventures that follow as she and the werewolf and other lycanthropes navigate their lives. So there are only 3 books in this series, so it's a trilogy. It's short and sweet, you know, it doesn't require too much investment, and it's been a while since I listened to this particular series, but it was very entertaining. They're very funny, they're very well written, again, excellent narration, and that's really the theme of all of these series that I'm recommending, again, is that the narration is top-notch. The 3 books in the series are How to Flirt with a Naked Werewolf, The Art of Seducing a Werewolf, and How to Run with a Naked Werewolf. And it's been a while since I listened to this particular series, several years, but I remember it being very comedic and very funny. I think there's probably like mild to medium spice level. I don't remember it being particularly spicy, but I could be wrong on that. But I don't think the books are overly long. You know, they're 8 to 10 hours, something like that. But they're very entertaining. They're very lighthearted. You know, a little bit of romance, a little bit of fantasy, and so they're very fun. The next series on my list is the Cousins O'Dwyer trilogy by Nora Roberts. So Nora Roberts is a fairly prolific author. She, you know, started in romance, and then I think she kind of went into mystery or crime thrillers. She writes under a different pen name for those ones. So she's been around a long time. I've read a lot of Nora Roberts books back in the day. I haven't read any real recently. but some of her series are better than other ones. And this one that I'm recommending, the Cousins O'Dwyer trilogy, is one that is quite good. It is a paranormal romance. Each book is narrated by a different narrator because it is told from a different character's perspective. So book 1 is narrated by Katherine Kellgren. She's the same narrator from her Royal Spinous series. The second book is narrated by Alan Smith, and the third one is narrated by Susan Erickson. So set in County Mayo, Ireland, this trilogy follows a close-knit group of friends and family, including the O'Dwyer cousins, as they face a brewing darkness that threatens their lives and the traditions they hold dear. A forbidden love, a dark force threatening, magic and lore with themes of love, loyalty, and family. And so this has a paranormal element that builds up as you move along in the series. So there isn't like overly much kind of in the beginning because there are people who aren't witchy at all, and so they discover these things about themselves as they move on through the story. And so by the time you get to the end of the story, it's got a lot of paranormal stuff in it. But each book in the series follows a different cousin, which is why it's told from different perspectives. So the first book in the series is called Dark Witch, the second one is called Shadow Spell, and the third one is called Blood Magic. Magic spelled with a CK at the end. Okay, I have 3 more audiobook series to recommend to you, and odds are you've definitely heard of at least one of these series. Possibly 2, maybe all 3 of them, I'm not sure, but these series are particularly popular just to be read and also as audiobooks. And I wanted to mention these ones because they are incredibly good as audiobooks in particular. But they've been around for a while, and again, they're really famous. So the first one is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. So I have only ever actually listened to the audiobooks of the Divergent series. It's how I discovered it, and I've never physically read the books, but I loved the series so much just from the audio narration. It's fantastic. So if you're not familiar with what Divergent is, it is a YA dystopian fantasy series. We follow Beatrice, or Triss, Pryor as she navigates a post-apocalyptic Chicago divided into factions. There are 5 factions: Abnegation, which is selflessness, and it's her faction of birth; Amity, which means peace; Dauntless, bravery; Erudite, or intelligence; and Candor, honesty. Upon turning 16, each person must take an aptitude test to determine their faction, but Triss's test is undetermined, and so she must choose her faction and hide her real results, because her real results indicate that she actually matches with multiple factions, and she is someone they call divergent. She knows that she doesn't want to choose abnegation, but she's afraid to lose her family. The society motto is faction before blood. So being divergent, which means possessing an aptitude for multiple factions, is a very dangerous place to be and could lead her to some very terrifying consequences, up to and including death. So this series is narrated by Emma Galvin and Erin Stanford. So again, this is the second time that I've mentioned Emma Galvin. She also narrates the Arcana Chronicles that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. She is a very, very good narrator. There are 4 novels in this series. We've got Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant, and 4, which is technically a prequel. So the original trilogy books are all written from Triss's perspective, although Allegiant is given in both Triss and 4's perspective. 4 is like Divergent rewritten from his perspective, from 4's perspective instead of from Triss's perspective. So it's a different take on that original story, but it's very well narrated, and I highly recommend listening to it. The next audiobook series that I want to recommend to you is the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. So this is another YA fantasy, and it's narrated mainly by Amanda Dolan, but there are other narrators that come in later novels. The series Red Queen takes place in a world divided by blood color. Reds are commoners with no powers, while silvers are the elite with supernatural abilities. The story follows Mare Barrow, a red girl living in a world ruled by the silver elite with superpowers, who discovers she possesses a similar ability, leading her to join a rebellion against the silvers. To be honest, I haven't finished listening to the series yet. I have listened to the first 3 books, I believe, and there are 6 books in this series with a couple of novellas that are not available via audiobook. But we have Red Queen, Glass Sword, King's Cage, War Storm, and Broken Throne. There is also a prequel called Cruel Crown, so that makes it the 6th book. And the very last audiobook series to recommend to you is definitely the one you've heard of, and that is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. The narration is fantastic. I have read all of the physical books, but I have also listened to the entire audiobook collection as well, and it is fantastic. I'm telling you, even if you have read the Harry Potter series, you should definitely consider going back and listening to it on audiobook because it's so good. It's so good. There are 2 versions that are out right now, so I am specifically recommending the Jim Dale narrated version. I believe that is widely available in the world. I think it was only for the US for like a really long time, and a different narrator was for the UK and international audiences. But I believe you can get your hands on the Jim Dale even if you are not in the US these days. The other narration is by Stephen Fry. I have not listened to that narration, and so I don't know whether or not I can recommend it. I'm sure it's very good, but I am talking specifically about the Jim Dale narration. And so if you are living under a rock, the Harry Potter series is a YA fantasy where an 11-year-old orphan boy discovers that he is a wizard, and he gets sent off to wizarding school, makes a couple of really good friends, Ron and Hermione, and together they learn magic and battle evil to save the world. I mean, it's pretty epic. There are 7 books in the series: Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I do want to let you know that there is a brand new narration that is going to be released in late 2025, and it is going to be featuring a full cast narration. I don't know if all the books will be released at the same time or if it'll be one at a time. I would imagine this is probably a one at a time situation, you know, so that they can milk it for all it's worth. But the main difference here is that the existing narrations are done by a single person, but when narrations are done by single people, they're trained actors, and so they're very good at doing lots of different voices and making each character sound unique. When we talk about a full cast narration, it means that for each main character, there is a different narrator, there's a different voice. So since the stories are written in third person, I would imagine that there is going to be a narrator that just does the narration, but then the lines that are spoken by the various characters are spoken by other people. And so usually that's what full cast narration means. And so I'm very excited. I'm definitely going to check that out when it comes out. But in the meantime, again, if you are like going on a long haul plane ride or a really long road trip or something like that, this series of books is definitely one I recommend. And that's true for any of the series on my list. They're good for the long haul. Many of these I listened to while I was commuting to work back and forth. I had a really long commute for a period of time in my life, and so I just devoured series of audiobooks. And so now that's enabled me to share these suggestions with you, and hopefully you will find one or two on this list that resonate with you and that you'll try and that you really end up liking. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support, and I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.